I'm Stephen Frazier. I'm a 33-year-old single man who works for a medical equipment manufacturer. I've recently been relocated back to the headquarters after 10 years from a regional office. My boss and manager, Johnson, was thrilled about my return. Stephen, congratulations on your return to HQ. Drinks are on me today. Enjoy as much as you want. With a beer glass in his hand, Johnson patted my shoulder as he said this. Today, he invited me out for drinks to celebrate my return to the headquarters. Thank you, but the reason I was able to hang in there and do well in the regional office is all thanks to you. This wasn't just a polite phrase, it was the truth. About a year after I started working at this company, I was suddenly assigned to work at a regional office by the manager at that time. Johnson was a section chief. It seems that I was disliked by the manager for being a quiet and boring guy. That's why I ended up being sent to the regional office, which was just facing a staff shortage. I was filled with anxiety that I might not be able to return to the headquarters. Tommy, who was driven by such fear, that then Johnson gave me some encouraging words. I was once sent from HQ to a regional office too. At first, I felt down, thinking I was kicked out because they didn't need me here. But, you see, I was able to get to my current position as a result of the achievements I made there. I want you to believe that this personnel change isn't a demotion, but a personnel decision to turn around the regional office. I need your help, Stephen. So please, don't lose heart and work hard at the regional office. His words were such a huge boost. I was dispirited when the personnel changes were announced, but thanks to Johnson, I was able to face forward and keep going. Even after my transfer to the regional office, I sought advice from Johnson and motivated myself. As a result, the improved performance of the branch office was recognized, and now, I have proudly returned to the headquarters. The former department head had transferred to another department as well, so let's start new and work hard at the headquarters. During a joyful reunion and pleasant chatter, Johnson suddenly made an unexpected proposition. Stephen, if you're okay with it, would you like to meet my daughter? What, your daughter? The moment I heard the word meet my daughter, I was stunned. Truth be told, I had never been in a relationship before. I appreciate your sentiment, but as you know, I'm not exactly the social type. I'm a bit embarrassed to say that I don't have any experience dating women. If I met your daughter, I'm afraid she might find me unsuitable. However, Johnson gently reassured me. That's not true. You're much better at communicating now than you were 10 years ago. Your hard work at the regional office in Nebraska has really paid off. I value that about you, and that's why I want to introduce you to my daughter. I think you two would be a great match personality-wise. When I say meet, I just mean have a meal and get to know each other. There's no pressure. Who would have thought that Johnson saw me in that light? His words hit me hard, and I ended up accepting the proposal to meet his daughter. He showed me a picture of his daughter on his phone, and she was stunningly beautiful. However, after finishing the party and returning home, I was already beginning to regret it. I'm not cut out for romance. Though I hadn't mentioned it to him, I had a traumatic past with love. Rewind 16 years. When I was 17, my mother ran off somewhere with the man she was having an affair with. The shock of my mother's disappearance was tough, but worse things were to come. My father, enraged and feeling betrayed by my mother, started taking his anger out on me. Your mother left us because she didn't care for you. You're going to live a lonely life, unloved by anyone. While drowning his sorrows in alcohol, my father repeated these harsh words. Seeing me, who resembled my mother, probably infuriated him. I had no outstanding talents, and perhaps I lacked the charm to keep my mother by my father's side. Deeply hurt by my father's words, I became increasingly introverted. From then on, my father drank more and more, leaving all the household chores to me and raising his hand at the slightest provocation. To avoid getting yelled at, I found myself becoming a perfectionist at home, and before I knew it, I was frequently late for school. Constant tardiness, along with my troubled home life, led to a negative aura surrounding me, and before I knew it, I found myself isolated from my peers. Feeling uncomfortable in my own classroom, I started spending more and more time in the nurse's office. The school nurse, Linda, was very kind and listened attentively to my problems. I couldn't share the full details considering my father's position, but having someone like her, who made time to listen to me, was a lifesaver. You can tell me anything that's troubling you. For your own sake, try your best to get your credits. Once you can stand on your own 2 feet, you'll be able to leave your father sooner. Indeed, she was right. At this rate, I was going to be unable to graduate. Thus, I made a firm commitment to attend all my classes and spent my remaining time seeking refuge in the school nurse's office. Gradually getting the hang of juggling all my responsibilities, I stopped being late and managed to avoid flunking. In the midst of this lifestyle, I found another reason to frequent the nurse's office. There was a female student other than myself who often visited the nurse's office, and I found myself eagerly looking forward to our secret conversations. Her name was Emily Thompson, 1 year younger than me. "Good morning, Stephen." Every morning, when I went to the nurse's office, Emily would greet me with a radiant smile. I was also happy to see her, and I returned her greeting with a cheerful good morning. Emily often said, "I'm practically homeschooled in the nurse's office." She rarely ever stepped foot into a classroom, spending nearly her entire day in the nurse's office. The reason was Emily's appearance. She always wore a rumpled school uniform, her face hidden behind long bangs, and the rest of her long hair was simply tied back. She was a plain girl. Because of this, Emily was often scorned as dirty by those around her, and everyone kept their distance. But it wasn't because she was disheveled by choice, but her home environment. Her parents favored her older sister and were constantly oppressive towards Emily. As a result, she received hardly any new clothes or daily necessities and couldn't afford to go to a hair salon, resulting in her unkempt appearance. However, I thought she was a wonderful girl. Yesterday, I borrowed a book from the library that was so interesting. It's really wonderful to have such interesting books available. Seeing Emily speak with a smile gave me strength. Even in a situation that would normally seem hopeless, she was always proactive in finding something enjoyable. While everyone criticized Emily's appearance, I noticed that her eyes peeking out from under her long bangs were beautiful. They were clear, light brown, beautiful eyes. With my heart pounding at the sparkle in her eyes, I relied on my conversations with Emily to get through the tough school life. Looking back, it was probably my first love. But all of that was in vain when one day Emily suddenly disappeared. Without saying anything, she suddenly transferred to another school. Even when I asked the teachers, they couldn't tell me anything because of privacy reasons. I thought of her as a fellow student visiting the nurse's office, but I didn't expect such a sudden farewell. It's like when my mom suddenly disappeared. Everyone leaves me behind and goes somewhere else. After that, I somehow managed to graduate high school and moved on to a distant university on a scholarship. It was finally a chance to get away from my father. But no matter how much time passed, I never fell in love with anyone after that. I couldn't forget Emily, and I was afraid of getting hurt, so I couldn't commit to a romantic relationship. So, I felt sorry for my boss, but I doubted that the dinner date would go well. As the day of the dinner date arrived, a woman more beautiful than the one I had seen on the phone appeared in the private room of the restaurant where we were meeting. I was taken aback. "Nice to meet you, I'm Emily." Johnson's daughter introduced herself and bowed politely. "Me, nice to meet you. I'm looking forward to today." Emily was a woman with beautiful fair skin, who wore light-colored dresses with grace. Her smooth chestnut hair swayed, and with her charming aura, I felt my heart race. Oddly enough, I felt a strange connection to the name Emily. Apparently, I seemed to have quite a destiny with that name. The dinner date had me nervous, but we both loved reading, so conversation flowed more freely than I had anticipated. "You also enjoy reading, Stephen." "On my days off, I usually go to the library." "Interesting. Do you have any recent book recommendations?" When I asked her that, Emily explained her recommended book in an easy-to-understand way. Seeing her talk so animatedly with a smile, I found her very attractive. I never thought I would have such a fun time with a woman like this. However, at one point, her demeanor changed suddenly, and Emily fell silent with a mysterious look on her face. Did I say something wrong? Nervously, I asked her, is something wrong? She stared at me and said, oh, come on, you have to realize it. She rolled up the sleeve of her dress, revealing a bracelet made of black natural stones. The moment I saw the bracelet, I involuntarily let out a sound, as a memory from 16 years ago flashed back. That day, as always, I headed to the nurse's office during lunch break. Linda, the school nurse, must have been in the restroom or somewhere, and it seemed that nobody was in the nurse's office. But then a breeze flowed in from the window. The curtain attached to the nurse's office bed swayed, and I witnessed an incredible scene. What? Through the gap in the curtain stirred by the wind, I could see Emily on the bed, holding a large quantity of something that looked like black tablets. On the table next to the bed, she was staring intently at the tablets. She can't be planning to take those. No matter what kind of pills they are, it's clear that consuming them all at once would be detrimental to one's health. Emily. Unable to bear it any longer, I forcefully pushed aside the curtain and stormed over to the bed. Stephen, what on earth happened? With Emily visibly startled by my sudden intrusion, I grabbed her shoulders and blurted out in a rush. Don't be so hasty, we're still young. Even if things are tough now, surely if we stay alive, good things will come, and I don't want you to disappear. I found myself in tears before I even realized it. I didn't want to lose Emily. That feeling was so strong that tears just naturally welled up in my eyes. But, despite my panic, Emily remained calm. What on earth are you talking about? I'm just making a bracelet with the stones I got from the librarian. What? What Emily had in her hands were not pills, but natural stones. Knowing about my misunderstanding, Emily started laughing heartily while clutching her stomach. I also felt embarrassed about my jump to conclusions and found myself blushing. Then, Emily, still chuckling, handed me the bracelet. This stone, called black tourmaline, is said to have the power to protect from negative energies. I already have mine, so I'm giving one to you, Stephen. Really? Oh, thank you. I didn't expect to receive a gift from Emily, so I was honestly delighted. You're a valued member of the infirmary gang, Stephen. And don't worry, I'm not going anywhere. Even though she said that, Emily suddenly disappeared. Now, Emily is right here in front of me. Unconsciously, with tears filling my eyes, I took the black tourmaline bracelet from my suit pocket. It's been 16 years since then. I've worn it faithfully, never once leaving it off my person. Before I knew it, Emily's beautiful light brown eyes were also filled with tears. I'm sorry for transferring schools so suddenly, but there was a deep reason behind it. According to Emily, her parents got violent with her, and fearing for her life, she ran away from home. Emily's mother's brother, who happened to be Johnson, and the two of them were uncle and niece. And Emily had sought help from Johnson, who lived in the next county. He was worried about Emily and could no longer leave her at her parents' home, so he cut ties with his sister and adopted Emily. So, Emily's last name had changed from Thompson to Miller. Hearing about Emily's dramatic past, my heart ached. It was natural for her to have transferred schools so suddenly. Wiping her tears, Emily opened her mouth. I've never been able to forget you since then. So, when my father brought up the dinner date, I was very surprised. I knew it was you right away because your last name is unusual. Honestly, I never thought I'd see you again, so I was really happy. I was a mess when I was in high school, wasn't I? I knew it, and I was really embarrassed. So I couldn't express my feelings at the time. Even if you're as kind as you are, Stephen, there's no way you'd fall in love with someone like me. Hearing Emily's words, I was surprised. I can't believe she felt the same way as me. I liked Emily too, but I had always assumed there were no women who would like me. But now, I think I've improved my appearance a bit. So let me say it, I'm in love with Stephen. Emily, please don't put yourself down like that. I've loved you for as long as I can remember. You've always been beautiful in my eyes, back then and now. I had to tell her that, I just had to, before Emily could finish speaking. It wasn't that I loved her because of who she is now. For me, Emily was always something special. Hearing my words, Emily blushed and tears welled up in her eyes. I could tell, though, that they were not tears of sorrow. Thank you. High school was tough, But having you, Stephen, there got me through those days. We held hands across the table, waiting for each other's tears to stop. Everyone I thought would leave me had gone somewhere, but Emily kept her promise. And so, she came back to me. That reality washed away the painful past with the tears, something I felt deep in my bones. After a year of dating, we decided to get married. When we started dating, Johnson was very surprised to learn that we already knew each other. I was so surprised. I had no idea the two of you knew each other, but I am truly grateful to Stephen. During high school, Emily was wounded deep down, but thanks to you, she's pulled through. As he said this, Johnson gazed into the distance as if lost in the past. There are circumstances between my wife and I that have prevented us from having our own children. That's why we've always thought of Emily as a daughter. Not having a child must have been hard for Johnson at the time, but it was clear to me and to Emily herself that the Johnson and his wife genuinely cared about her as if she were their own daughter. Emily was really happy to become your adopted daughter. She said she is able to smile now thanks to you. If you say that, it makes me happy. We have suffered a lot, and I've always wanted her to be happy. I believe that you will definitely make our daughter happy. Stephen, or can I start calling you my son? As he said this, Johnson gave a shy smile. Right. Marrying her meant that I, too, would become his son. I shook my head vigorously, a broad smile on my face. Of course, from now on, I will call you my father-in-law. Haha, not only a daughter, but now I've got a son as well. It's like a dream come true. Maybe the experiences we each had in our pasts were dark and sad, but thanks to the irreplaceable encounters, we knew the joy of love and being loved. Savoring that happiness, my heart swelled with hope for the bright future ahead.